Alright, now it's time for an analysis on Joe. I saved it for this segment of this review, since it feels more appropriate and backs up my points on him. For starters, the Nick Jr. website described him as funny, inquisitive, and approaches everything with a sense of wonder. From my own perspective, Joe is very childlike and giddy, giving out some of that Season 1 Steve energy, whereas Steve himself will be rather laid back and calm. He doesn't have corny dad jokes or snarky comments, but he still shares that same charisma as his older brother. That kind of quirky, preschool-like behavior fits the new generation of children the creators were aiming for.
Yippee!
Joe has his own traits that help separate him from Steve. Steve plays guitar, while Joe plays a kazoo. Steve has a stuffed anteater named Horace, while Joe has a stuffed duck named Boris. Steve has a double bass leitmotif when drawing, whereas Joe has a tuba leitmotif. This way you can tell they're brothers, but they also share different interests. Something tells me Joe and Hugh Neutron will get along just fine. I'd say the biggest difference between these two are their wardrobes. Steve always wore a variation of green stripes or just green in general. As iconic as they are, it's refreshing for someone else's outfits to have more variety. Joe wears different colored shirts with squares, all which are colors of the rainbow. The same goes for his pajamas with multicolored squares. And other times, his outfits are much more diverse in themes. Whether it's Little Red Riding Hood, a red suit for an anniversary, or a duck costume for an episode about dressing up. Joe's various outfits were due to feedback from mothers that the children refused to change their shirts during Steve's time as the host. I've never encountered that issue as a kid, but I guess I could kinda see how it would affect an impressionable mind. So it was a smart move to give a new host new attire that doesn't scream, "I wear the same thing every day and you should too." When it comes to the new host of Blue's Clues, it could have been worse.
I'm sure I'll do a fabulous job. Squidward, stop telling people that.
As stated before back in part 1, Patton was able to nail that same connection with the camera as Steve. He got his ability to talk to younger kids from his 5-year-old sister, which is surprisingly relevant to this show's target audience. My only nitpick with him is his ways of removing the paw print aren't as creative or thematic. Most of the time he just bounces off the paw print, points it off, or there's little to no interaction. You really get unique versions of this. Well, that's as far as I'm concerned, so far. And that ends my analysis on Steve's younger brother. I know a lot of people resonate with Steve the most, but I want to give Joe some appreciation, because he's just as iconic. Patton once compared himself to Burns as the Patrick Stewart to William Shatner. I'm not a Trekkie, so this analogy is lost on me. Regardless, I appreciate that Donovan was able to become his own character instead of just having a copy and paste persona. Now for a segue, let's talk about standout episodes or moments.